God isn't wanting you to be the best of someone else. He's wanting you to be the best of yourself. And he knows what your limit is and how much you can give. And he knows that we are willing to push past those limits. And he wants to hold out his hand to us and grab us and pull us into him and hug us. And like, he wants to help us. And it's just, we have to put in our part so he can put in his part. Because if he's trying to reach out for us and we're not reaching out for him, there's no way we will be able to go to him.
Hi, welcome back to Christ-Led Youth. This is a podcast for youth, by youth, and this week we'll be discussing Doctrine and Covenants sections 102 through 105. After much tribulation cometh the blessings. So while I was reading and stuff, why does God sometimes wait to give us blessings?
I think sometimes it's not the right time for us to receive them because God, he has the eternal perspective to where he knows when we need them and when we should wait a bit. And I think it also teaches us patience. We're not always going to receive everything right when we want to. Just because you did this doesn't mean you're going to be blessed for it right then. It's like prayers. Prayers aren't always answered right away. But I think him withholding blessings sometimes is a great way to teach us patience and to humble us a little bit instead of just being like, well, I did this good deed, so I should be blessed for it right now. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I agree on that. We were in class today and our bishop was teaching a lesson and we were talking about Joseph Smith and how when God came down and stuff and was like, oh, we're gonna restore the true church and everything, but then it took a long time, and in that time it took a long time and he didn't see angels or anything for a long time. There was a big period where he was what the heck, and he started questioning himself because he was like, did I do something wrong? Am I not doing something right? And I think sometimes God is you need to trust me, this isn't the time. And it's yeah, Joseph Smith 100% did the right thing and went and studied the scriptures and all these things. But if God immediately gave him the blessings and all the answers to everything that he was wondering, then he wouldn't have learned and we wouldn't, it probably would have gone a little bit differently. But I totally agree with Kinsley. It's definitely for our own good. It's to make sure that we're reflecting on what happened, maybe we just need a little bit more time to reflect on the trial and or whatever we went through to be able to be okay, maybe I need to reflect on this so that I actually notice the blessing coming from it, kind of thing. But yeah.
And I definitely agree. I feel if it was if we were given a blessing immediately after praying or immediately after doing a good deed, it would kind of condition us to a point where it's oh, we're living our life, we're just kind of floating around, and then, oh wait, I kind of want a blessing because this happened, quickly pray, and then it happens. It would condition us not to appreciate the work that would have to go into actually getting a blessing. And instead, it shows us that it's special for each of us because each of us has to put different amount of works in, and each of us has to go through our own trials to be able to get our personalized blessings.
I love that you said that. I definitely agree that it's really good that we have that time to wait and to ponder, and that we're not being conditioned to expect blessings immediately after we're praying. It gives us the chance to trust God and to build our faith on God. But going off of that, why does God allow people to, suffer through trials and giving us trials, I guess?
Well, I definitely saw it as it's not God forcing problems onto us, being oh, this person's been living nice lately and I'll throw in a death or something. I don't think that's what he does, but I feel because he's given humans agency and we're free to choose what we want to do, it's a cause and effect from that agency that leads to bad things. And because God knows that will eventually happen and he knows what will happen to us, he gives us the opportunity to follow him and get out of that bad situation and to be able to grow as a person, which I feel that is why he continues to keep suffering around, kind of it's weird to word it that way, but like that's like the best way I can.
Yeah.
I kind of think like, how can you really experience what joy feels like if you've never felt pain?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know what's a good day if you've never had a bad day? Like, that's kind of the thing. And there's this quote, and it's, the greater amount of sorrow, the greater the capacity there is for joy, or something like that. And I agree with you saying that. It's like, it's not necessarily Heavenly Father like putting these trials right in front of us, but I think it's Him allowing us to go through them, because He knows that if we lean on Him and if we seek for His help and guidance through it, that we can overcome it, and that He can strengthen us to be able to work through it, and that they'll help teach us, and we can learn from them.
Yeah. I love what Lily said about conditioning for results, and I think a lot of it is because God knows the best time for us to receive the blessings, because He knows the best time, the right time where we can feel the most amount of joy from it. I'm kind of going to pull a sports analogy into this. There was a study done. They took two groups of runners. Runners A were told to run for 20 minutes, and group B were told to run, period. And they weren't told to stop or when to stop. And group B, the group which was told that they didn't have a time to stop, was the one that ended up performing better. And I think that's very applicable because, you know, you won't see success when you're chasing the results. You'll see success when you surrender yourself to the process of chasing the results. And I think that's perfectly aligned with what you're saying, because God knows that if it was just every time we did this, we instantly got a blessing, we would never be able to appreciate it. We would never be able to feel that deficit of working for it to make the blessing actually feel good, like Kinsley was saying. And it makes you appreciate it when you actually worked for it and you actually had that time when you didn't know when the end was, when it wasn't just in 20 minutes it's over, because then you just know in 20 minutes I'm done. I don't even have to try, you know. But when we don't have that end time, it makes us appreciate when the end time does come much more, because otherwise, like you said, we're just conditioned to it and then we don't appreciate it anymore.
I really liked how you said that with that analogy and stuff, but like I liked how you worded it and how you said that then we're conditioned to not appreciate it anymore, because I feel like sometimes we're we're getting these blessings and everything is going great and we're just like, wow, like everything's going great and all these things, and then we kind of stop appreciating it, I guess. Like we're just like, oh, another blessing, like that's great, like I know another one's gonna come soon, you know what I mean? Like you know, like, oh, everything's going great for me, all these things, right? But I feel like us going through trials definitely makes us appreciate, like Benji said, it makes us appreciate the blessings in the end, because then we really see like, okay, that was hard, that sucked, and I don't want to go through that again really, but I love this blessing. And sometimes like obviously the blessing is so great that's like, okay, I might go through that again, even though it sucked. I will probably go through that again for this blessing, because God saw what was right for me. He saw the bigger picture. He saw the eternal perspective on things. So yeah, I love that you said that. It was really cool.
Do any of you guys have any personal experiences with trials that you've gone through that have brought blessings in the end?
I mean, I definitely have gone through like my fair share of like trials. I know the most prominent one in my life right now was when I moved here, because I remember I grew up in my old home for my whole life, and then being uprooted, especially when I didn't have a strong connection to God and I felt like I was just wandering and I didn't know where I was, and then suddenly being uprooted and moving to a completely different state, it was just like so like terrifying to me, and I felt like I was so alone, even though like just because like I wasn't close to God, and I knew that like because I wouldn't have any friends and any good real connections where I was going, it was like that was the first time I've ever like truly prayed with my heart, and I was like, God, please like give me reassurance that I'm not going to be alone and like just help me feel more normal in this new place. And it was that week when we first moved here, I went to church for the first time in a couple years. And that's when I met like so many of my friends that I have now, and they all just welcomed me with like open arms, which like that's like never happened to me before, like in my old home. And so I feel like it definitely wasn't like one of the longer blessings I've had to wait for, but I had to go through so much in such a short time in order to get that blessing. I feel like it was definitely like one that I was like, he was there for me and he knew like I needed him. And that's what like really opened my eyes. And I was like, wow, he like really is here looking over us. And like, he really does love each of us and knows what is best for us in that moment. And I thought that was a pretty amazing trial and blessing.
I think it's cool how God was able to help you through us living the gospel. You know, oftentimes I think it's easy to get caught up in, you know, going through the motions and doing everything right for yourself so that, you know, you can do what's right and all the good things. But I think a lot of times we don't realize that our commitment to the gospel and our commitment to follow the Spirit and to keep our covenants with Heavenly Father oftentimes set us up to be an answer to someone else's prayer. And in the same way that those friends were able to be an answer to your prayer, it's because they were at church too, and they were doing what God was wanting them to do, and were able to answer that prayer for you, which is, I think, pretty cool to look at.
I feel like also when like God's working through us, and like also when you're going through like those trials and like that blessing, and especially like afterwards for you, there was like one specific time where I did not understand why I was going to a certain place, and I was like, this is making me so mad. And I was so mad I wasn't with my friends. I had literally nobody else, rooming with a random person. And then in the end, it took me that entire week to figure out why God like put me there. It took a very long time, like why I had to be in a certain place by myself with nobody else. And God works in very mysterious ways, I'll say that, but definitely God sees the bigger picture, like we've said multiple times. It's so amazing how crazy God works through other people and how his plan works out. Like sometimes I don't even understand his plan. Like I am so lost. Like sometimes I'm like, I'm so lost. Like I have to pray so hard sometimes to be like, okay, like where are we going? Because we're off road right now. And so, but definitely it's like you said, like you had to go through so much for so many blessings that you received. And I think sometimes we really have to trust God with having a strong relationship with him, with not having a strong relationship with him. Like you trusted God and you felt like you didn't have that strong relationship with him and stuff, but you still trusted him, and look where you ended up, you know what I mean? And so, but yeah, it's definitely awesome seeing God's blessings in the end and seeing everything kind of like roll out, because like I feel like once everything starts rolling out, it kind of clicks in your head and you're just like, what in the world? Like that is so cool. Like God literally like set that up for me and set that up for those people. It's just something so cool, and I love that he cares so much about us to do that for us and to give us all these blessings. Like I think that's so amazing, and it's so cool how he works.
A poem that someone shared with me recently, I can't quote it word for word, but it talks about how the setting of the poem is a man or a boy in a hole, and that hole represents their life and all the things that they've done, and quote unquote digging themselves deeper into that hole. And it talks about how they try to build a ladder out of what's left of the sticks and rocks and everything, and they scrap a ladder together and they put everything they can to build this ladder, and they put the ladder up and they climb up to the end of the ladder, and then they look up and they're still not even close to the end of the hole, and they're still in this hole. And it goes on to show that Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ, he comes to the edge of the hole and he lowers his rope down and he says, I will make up for the difference. You did your best. You did everything you could. now it doesn't matter. I don't care how big the distance is. As long as you did the best, I'm here to help you with the rest, and I'll bring you up. And it doesn't matter to me how deep your hole is or where your hole is at. Like, it's as long as you do your best to build your ladder as high as you can get, I'll make up the difference. And I think a lot of times we're too scared to try because of the distance. But the distance doesn't matter. What matters is our effort and, putting in the best shot that we can and putting in everything that we can, building our tallest ladder, so to speak. And then he'll make up the rest and he'll pull us out. It doesn't matter how deep the hole is.
I actually really like that because, like, phrasing it like that helps you, like, actually see that God isn't wanting you to be the best of someone else. He's wanting you to be the best of yourself, and he knows what your limit is and how much you can give. And he knows that we are willing to push past those limits, and he wants to hold out his hand to us and grab us and pull us into him and hug us, and, like, he wants to help us. And it's just, we have to put in our part so he can put in his part, because if he's trying to reach out for us and we're not reaching out for him, there's no way we will be able to go to him.
I know that this is true principles that we've talked about. I've loved how we kind of went over the aspect of it doesn't matter where you are. Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ can always bring you back. You just have to put your own effort and build your own ladder. Doesn't matter how tall that ladder is. He will come and save you from wherever you are. And I thank you guys for your wonderful insight. I hope you guys were able to enjoy that episode, and I hope we will see you again next week too.
Bye.
Bye.